A brigadier general in the Army once described Hank Wilson as the perfect combination of experience and resolve, and the thousands of men and women who served him, the thousands of pieces of equipment and their safety and their accomplishments is a legacy to his good work. Charles Henry Hank Wilson III was born November 28, 1941 in Little Rock, Arkansas, the son of Major Charles H. Wilson and Eloise Sears Wilson. The proud parents never had troubles with young Hank, who graduated from Jacksonville High School in 1959. He always held a keen interest in flying and a desire to carry on his father's legacy of military service. He attended Ouachita Baptist University and graduated with a degree in chemistry. In college, he joined the ROTC and was commissioned into the U.S. Army in May of 1963, a second lieutenant. He joined the Army National Guard in 1967 and served in numerous leadership roles in the Guard. When placed on active duty, he served in Germany as a platoon leader, 3rd Battalion, 84th Artillery, and eventually served as executive officer of the battalion. He was responsible for the division that controlled the Pershing missiles in Germany. Wilson oversaw the change in strategic reserves of the missiles and a change of mission that called for the National Guard to specialize in combat arms and combat support, and the addition of 250 helicopters from the components of the Army to the National Guard. Quite a task for a young man from Arkansas. He was discharged as first lieutenant, another honorable discharge from active duty, and he returned to Arkansas, but continued his service with the Arkansas Army National Guard. He taught high school chemistry at North Little Rock's Old Main High School, where he met his wife, Leila Ann Fisher, a fellow teacher. They were married July 13, 1974. They moved to Arkadelphia and started a family. They had 2 children, a son, Charles Henry Wilson IV, and a daughter, Leila Christine Wilson. Hank's wife, Leila, remembers a minor disappointment for Hank when he had wanted to be a fixed-wing pilot.
And he wanted to be in the Air Guard. So he went out to Little Rock Air Force Base and sat down in something. And he told them what he was there for, and they said, well, you failed the test. And he said, what do you mean? He said, well, you're too tall. Hank's height, Hank was 6'2". His height was in his torso, not in his legs. And he was too tall, he would hit the top of the cockpit.
Hank held numerous leadership roles with the Guard. Fellow soldiers have fond memories of their leader.
The thing that impressed me the most about Hank was his leadership ability. Hank never gave an order. Hank would tell you what needed to be accomplished, and then the thing he would ask next is, what do you need from me to accomplish that feat? It motivated me to do the best I can because I wasn't told what I had to do, but I would do the way I needed to see it done.
Hank had served for over 20 years in the National Guard. In 1992, he was named State Army Aviation Officer of the Guard, and he was given credit for helping secure the 187,000 square foot Army Aviation Support Facility at Camp Robinson in North Little Rock, one of the finest in the country.
I worked at the Army Aviation Support Facility for 35 years. I had a lot of bosses while I was there. Hank Wilson was one of the best I had. I think when he first come aboard, he was the IP supervisor, then he became facility commander, state aviation officer. It's because of Hank Wilson that we got to build a new multi-million-dollar aviation support facility. He went to the National Guard Bureau and pointed out to them that we had issues with the design guides on how much space and equipment that we could have. He come back to us, we put together and built new design guides and got it authorized, and that's why Arkansas and a lot of other states got to build these new multi-million-dollar facilities.
I had the privilege of working with Hank and for Hank for many years, both in the Guard and watching him after he retired from the Guard, of going to Henderson State University and taking over the aviation department down there and accomplishing things that I don't think any of us could ever imagine that he was able to accomplish through both student activity and purchase of airplanes. It was phenomenal of what he was able to accomplish.
Hank is remembered fondly across the board by his peers and those who served under him. Hank was ahead of his time in helping the first woman who ever served in the Arkansas Guard.
When I transferred to the Arkansas Army National Guard, it was as the first female in the Arkansas Army National Guard Aviation. Being the first female was at times trying, at times just, it was just a wonderful experience. And Hank was one of those that welcomed me. He treated me just like he did all the other soldiers, which was what I wanted.
During Hank's leadership roles, the Arkansas National Guard saw many of its finest moments, from wars and terrorism abroad to responding to floods, forest fires, and ice storms at home. Hank achieved numerous awards and decorations, including the Meritorious Service Medal and Master Aviator. Colonel Hank Wilson III retired from the Guard in 1999, but he was not finished with serving fellow aviators. He joined the aviation department at Henderson State University and, as always, proved to be a true leader and mentor.
I just recently made a pretty significant job choice, and it was tough to make. And it was right after Hank had passed away, and I can still hear in my head Hank Wilson, because I was deciding, do I need to quit doing what I'm doing and do something else? And I could hear in my head Hank saying to me, Troy Hogue needs to do what's best for Troy Hogue. And I think that was just Hank at heart. He's always wanting everybody to do what was best for them and to do the best that they could do. And anything he could do to help you bring the best out of yourself, he would, in a very humble way.
Hank retired in 2011 as Aviation Program Director for Henderson.
Hank always said to do the right thing. Whatever you do, do the right thing. And he told me time and time, he said, Leila, that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to live by that. Do the right thing.
Charles Henry Wilson III passed away April 9th, 2022, just months short of his induction ceremony where he had earned his place in Arkansas aviation history.